Welcome to this webinar on remanufacturing. My name is Nina Boersma and I'm interviewing David Peck, remanufacturing expert from TU Delft. Dave, I'm now going to ask you a couple of questions on the business value of remanufacturing. What is this business value and what does it consist of? Can you tell us something more?
I'd like to split the answer into four, if I may. And I'll deal with each one in turn. The first one is what I would call the sourcing value. Okay, so here we talk about cost reduction. Now I remember really clearly when I did business studies many years ago, one thing they told us: in business, cost is king. If you don't look after the cost, you see bankruptcy. And we still see companies going bankrupt because the cash flow and costs were not managed and the cash flow was not managed. So that's absolutely king. And you can get a lot of direct cost reductions from remanufacturing, from reduced energy input, and from essentially reusing material. So in terms of the components, the materials used in the components of the product, you try and reuse as much as you can. Obviously, replacing parts and components is to be avoided, because the more you replace, the more cost. The more you can clean, reassemble, put back in again, the more profit. So that's the sourcing value. Sorry.
For this, you already took into account the possible additional costs?
Yeah, well, there can be additional costs in terms of labor, perhaps, for instance, because you've got big setup costs with equipment and so on and so forth, but then you'd have that in any manufacturing business anyway. So they do balance out, and the business case is strong. So companies that do remanufacture have successful operations. It's not a, how do I put it, it's not a transient thing. It doesn't just set up business and go bankrupt pretty quick. That doesn't happen in reman. It's really strong. So I mean, that's essentially a closed loop business practice. That's fine. Another business value is the environmental value. So you've got a lot of environmental values. And you've got environmental values in terms of, again, energy used and emissions from those energies, particularly, say, CO2. You've got environmental benefits from the extraction and processing of materials from the earth. And there can be a lot of chemicals used in that process as well, depending on the materials. A lot of, again, other emissions. That helps a lot. And of course, there is regulations around environment. They're getting tougher and more challenging for business. Remanufacturing can really put you in a good position with that. You may be exempt from some regulations, or it may be that you just comply straight away. And of course, in terms of branding and the branding of your business, increasingly customers, both business to business and business to consumer, they're looking for a company going to supply them with products that fit how they see the world should be, and it can be remanufacturing can really do that.
And they trust these products right away?
Well, one thing you have to do is when a reman product comes into use, it's as new in box with warranty. You've got a legal document saying this is correct. Now, of course, there are different ways the remanufacturing process may have taken place, but more and more these days, there's a lot of information and knowledge out there online where customers can see what is really happening. And it's not in a company's interest to try and hide or deceive their customers. That's not smart business. So I think there's a lot of trust, and I certainly know the partners we work with are very good. But I come on, that was two things. So we've got sourcing value and environmental value. Let's go with the third one. So we've got customer value. And of course, for any business, that's really important, satisfying your customers. So your customers may then turn around and begin to understand what it is you do and how you do it, because you asked about that. Do they trust you? You know, once you get to know a supplier of a product, you may then turn around and go, well, actually, these are the guys I like to work with. I'm always going to buy this. I trust them. I know what they do. And actually, the performance of the product is good, if not better than new. And that can be really helpful. And also, again, it can protect, but actually build your company brand. So you've moved into reman, and then suddenly you realize you're in a different place in terms of your branding, and it's much more what society and customers want. So that can really build. So that's three things: sourcing value, environmental value, customer value, and the fourth one I want to talk about is informational value. So there's this whole phenomena in the world now of data and information. And there is, because the product has been used and then come back, been remanufactured and goes out again and maybe used and come back again, each time it loops round, you then have a much stronger customer relationship management. So there's a lot of data which can be collected by the company on the production and the supply chain and the logistics, how often and where and what fails or what is wearing and maybe failing. So this can help you in your design processes. You know how long your product might last. You certainly know where your customers are not, where you've got a relationship with your customers where they may be saying, I wish your product did this, I wish your product did that, could you improve this, could you improve that? That's useful. And then how much they're using it. Now, this is all the world of what we talk about, big data. That can get really interesting for businesses. There are dangers with that, however. There may be situations where customers might be saying, hold on a minute, is the company spying on me? You know, where's my privacy? Where's this? So there's a lot to work out in how we do this, but I think that can be addressed, and there will be increasingly regulations and standards on this. So that could be covered. But in terms of actually improving things, it's fantastic. So just to summarize, what is the business value? Sourcing value, environmental value, customer value, and informational value. Put those things together, and it's a big business driver.
Thank you, Dave. As I understand it correctly, we have four values summarizing the business value of remanufacturing.